Hola familia. Well, welcome to another episode of Spanglish Talks, where we all about connecting and celebrating la comunidad latina here in Australia, across New Zealand and the world. This is Amiga Mia, your host, and also a quick special message that today, even though you will listen to this later, today is El 18, Chilean Independence Day. So much love to la familia, la comunidad chilena across the world. I hope you're enjoying with your empanadas, your sopaipillas, tu asado, todas las cosas más ricas que nos gusta para nuestras fiestas patrias. I've got a gig on Friday as well, going to Canberra, capital city of Australia, to celebrate El 18 también. So super excited. But as we continue, today is very different because we actually have a mamacita, a señorita, a Latina from Londres, familia. We've got this beautiful mamacita who we've actually connected through Instagram, I think a little while ago. And her name's Milena Sanchez, singer, songwriter, podcaster, best-selling author. What? We need to talk about that one. And performer. Gracias, amiga, for jumping on and speaking to Amiga Mia.
Hi. I think it's been an overdue conversation for sure. Every time I see you post on something, I'm just like, oh my God, I need to do a podcast with her. We need to have a conversation because I have so many questions.
I know, right? It's like we have similar lived experience, but just different side of the world. It's wild because we're like those. I feel like we would have a similar experience in the sense of like, we're not in Latin America. We're not in the US, where the US kind of dominates this narrative of what it means to be like first gen or whatever, Latin outside of Latam. But we kind of like, they're outliers in a way, right? We're in Australia and the UK.
I kind of feel like the same way that the Americans were so shocked that British Latinos existed. I felt like that when I came across you because I was like, wait a minute. Hay Latinos en Australia? ¿Cómo así? ¿Cómo llegaron allá? Like, I'm so confused. And I was like, okay, Milena, don't be ignorant, okay? Because, you know, Latinos get around. So why don't you just ask questions? So I was like, no, I definitely need to ask. How did you end up? How did your family end up in Australia?
Yeah, I know, right? It's a whole thing. Like, I actually, you know what's funny? When you mentioned like people wild out when they find out there's Latinos in like the UK, for example. I don't know if you know her, but there's an influencer on TikTok. I think she's in London and she creates all those TikToks that are like, yeah, man, we got a community of like Latinos in London. What of it? And people trip out all in the US. I love
All the
watching
time.
those. I guess for us, our community is still very small. It's growing, but we're very small. There's other migrant communities that are a lot bigger. But my in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, there was a huge migration wave of Chileans to Australia, Argentinians, Peruvians, and people from El Salvador.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, my family came in the mid 80s, and we kind of never looked back.
I don't think there's many Chilenos acá. I don't think I've met somebody from Chile.
Yeah.
I think you're the first person and you're all the way in Australia. There are many, many Colombians here, mucha gente de Brasil, Dominicanos, Ecuatorianos, but de Chile, maybe there's like a handful, but I've never come across. But yeah, there's about like 250,000 Latinos that we know of in the UK.
That's not that
Especially
bad.
like there's a lot in London, but we are still a very small community. So basically, my family came here in the 80s and I was raised in a very, very Colombian household. And all of my friends, like most of my friends were Latinos. And even like I had a lot of Latin friends in school as well. So I didn't realize that when I got into college and people are talking about like certain songs that are like absolute classics and R&B and da-da-da, I was like, oh my God, I'm Latina as fuck because you asked me una canción de Celia Cruz and I will tell you straight away. But if you ask me about an R&B song in the 90s, I have no clue. So I grew up super Latina in comparison to my daughter now, where she only has a handful of Latin friends that she doesn't see as often. I'm like, oh my God, I actually have a Nosao kid. I try my best,
man.
but it's hard.
That generation is like, it's just a whole new, they operate on a whole new level with no subtleness. Like my nieces and nephews as well. I love it. I feel like they're going to have a different dialect of Spanglish You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
100%. But it's so crazy because when I actually visited Miami when I was in Florida last year and the year prior to that, I've been back about 3, 4 times now, and I'm absolutely in awe and so amazed by the amount of Latinos, the fact that there are signs in Spanish, just everything is so Latin and Hispanic. I'm like,
hmm.
yeah, no wonder that there are a lot of kids there that are born after, their first gen parents that speak Spanish and they're so immersed in the culture. But we just don't have it here. Like here, when I'm telling you, amiga,
Talk to me about the Latin scene in London. What is that even like? I'm
well, we
intrigued.
have a lot of restaurants, I can say that, but they're not scattered around London. Like there's mostly the Latin restaurants are in like Elephant and Castle, which is South London.
Hmm.
We have a few in North London, Seven Sisters. There's actually a little community, a little place where lots of Latinos hang out, and it's called El Pueblito Paisa. And that's like where my
Hmm.
mom and my aunties used to go to a lot. There's like restaurants y como unas tiendas latinos también. So like
Hmm.
hairdressers, jewelry stores, clothing stores, all of that. And it's
Okay.
so
Ooh.
cute. It's a little hub. And do you know what? It was actually going to be demolished a couple of years back. And all of the Latinos and everybody who wasn't Latino either that just knew that it was a hub for us, we all came together and we were signing this petition and
Yeah,
they
you
actually
did.
left it, which is beautiful because, it is my mum's home away from home.
Hmm.
And it's a place where many Latinas go there to just feel that sense of like, oh my God, come on, una nostalgia. Even though they're in England, they still have their community there. We have a couple of restaurants in West London, but there isn't much for us here. And even when it comes down to like music, the music scene, there are many Latin artists, but we don't get played on radio or mainstream
I was
radio.
gonna ask you about that.
No.
Yeah.
So there's like obviously underground Latin
Hmm.
radio stations, but like the mainstream ones, no. But I released a song called Mira in February, and they actually played like two DJs that I know personally. They played it on the radio, and I was like, oh my God. I was so shocked because up until this day, they're still playing Gasolina. Like that is really the only song. Like, tú hablas con gente y no conocen a Bad Bunny, no conocen a Karol G. It's so mind blowing because these are people that are streaming within the billions, and you lot don't know who they are. Like Carol G done the O2 nights in a row, and you don't know. J Balvin came and he smashed it. Like we've got Aventura in a couple of weeks' time.
You
Like
have Aventura.
what?
What the
Yeah,
fuck?
I
Man, we
know.
struggled to get that. Like it was a whole thing when we had J Balvin, and then there was a whole nother thing when he came second time around because everyone's like, "Yo, we want to see Carol G, Bad Bunny, la la la,
Did Carol go to
Maluma."
Australia?
Nah, no, they never did.
Ah,
Yeah, it's a whole thing. We want a petition to the death to
let me
bring
tell
them
you
here.
something. Milena Sanchez, this British Latina singer, I will ride for Australia. I will come,
Yes.
I will do my shows, and I will ride for you guys. Do you know what's so funny? When I was on my previous podcast, we had a lot of people from Australia that would listen, right? And I always said this on the podcast. I was like, you know what? Australia will never see me, because I don't like flying. So the fact that I would have to do that flight scares the shit out of me. But
Oh yeah.
now I feel like meeting you, and I've met some other amazing Australian people as well. And I just feel like I'm really discovering this
Hmm.
world that I just knew nothing about. And I'm like, you know what? Australia gonna see me. I'm gonna be in Australia.
And they need to see you, honestly. Like we need it. We need it because the scene here is we've got a lot of local homegrown artists and they're doing their thing and they're amazing, honestly. But I just don't feel like it's enough. We
Yeah.
and we need different type of music. And I feel like you're very like damn, you're talented. I was reading your bio
Oh,
before we
thank
started
you.
this, and I was like, wait, hold on. You're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're a podcaster, you're a best-selling author, and then on top of that, you create events. Plus, you have
Yeah.
everything else in your personal life. Like, what the like? Where did that? What did what all started? What was your first like stepping stone into all this success?
So I was I started singing from a very, very young age, from when I was about 4 years old. Anyone that entered my household, I would make them sit down on the sofa and watch me sing Selena and Christina Aguilera because I was
That's so
so
cute.
obsessed. Honestly, there was a part of my time in my life where I did genuinely think that I was Selena. Like that woman alongside Christina Aguilera and La India, they taught me how to sing.
Mm.
So yeah, been singing my whole life. And then, like I said, I was really immersed in the Latin community here, and we done a lot of like carnivals. Un carnaval que se llama Carnaval del Pueblo. It was one of the first Latin huge carnivals here, and there was actually a competition prior to the first one called Niña Simpatia.
Mm.
And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go for it because I used to go to a Latin school, Latin music school. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it because I know I'm talented and I genuinely love performing so much that I just took the opportunity. So I done
Yes,
it.
queen.
I won. And then I ended up performing at Carnaval del Pueblo in front of like thousands of people. I was only 11 years old, but I was there in my cumbia dress, like off the shoulder top, con una falda larga.
Mini
Just
Milena, so
I was
cute.
so excited that I had the opportunity to do that, and it was amazing. And from there, I was doing a lot of Latin talent competitions and just
Mm.
performing everywhere that I could have the chance, basically. And literally, everyone in the Latin community knew me as like a little mini Shakira because no matter where I was, even if it was como una fiesta así pequeña, can I sing, please? Okay, Milena, yeah, you can sing. Bueno, y yo cantaba. I would go in my little Shakira belt and I would sing my heart out. And then after I got into a group here in the UK with two boys, and our first single went absolutely viral, went crazy. We
Mm.
done a tour off of one song, and then one of the guys left, and it completely shattered my dream of becoming a
Wait.
singer
How
because
old were you when you joined this
I
group?
was 18,
Damn. So you
18,
started like
where
proper young.
yeah, where we had signed with a record label.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. And at that point I was so naive. I was like, bueno, pues ya soy famosa. Ya soy una cantante. I'm ready. I'm gonna take the world by storm. And then all of my dreams just came crumbling down. He left, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on being a solo artist, and I am going to develop my craft and develop myself because I was still very young.
Mm.
Anyways, I took a couple of years out where I was working on an album. Halfway through my album, at that point, I was like 21, 22. I found out I was pregnant.
Mm.
So, me being pregnant at 22 and figuring out, okay, what do I want to do here? Do I want to step in this whole new bag of being a mum, or do I want to choose my career? Because, as women, we don't have the luxury of doing both at the same time.
Mm-mm.
So I chose to carry on with my pregnancy, and I had a beautiful daughter. But when I had her, I felt out of love with music because I was so afraid of how the industry would portray me. And I didn't just want to be like, oh, this baby mums. I don't know if you
Mm.
guys use that term, but a baby mums is just like somebody that almost had it, didn't really get it, and now they're just a mum to a child kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really, really wasn't confident. I would cry because I had postpartum depression as well, which was really, really difficult to go through. I was working in a call center that I didn't really want to work in. It was just a lot. And then the podcast came along, and it was crazy because I had never heard of podcasting. It was never a thing. We're talking 2016, 2017.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
I
early.
just thought, I love talking. At that point, I was doing Facebook Lives, and I had like a little crowd that would come and watch me. So I was like, you know what? This will be fun. Like, I'm going to meet new girls. We're going to chat shit about our lives. And it's just going to be this form of therapy for me. I did not anticipate it blowing up the way that it did, going on tours, having billboards all across the UK of our faces, to then signing a book deal, being a best-selling author 2 weeks running in the Sunday Times, and doing TV shows and being so visible. I
Mm.
didn't anticipate that. Like, I promise you, I went into it because I thought I love speaking. And that's it. Soy una chismosa y me encanta. And
Wait,
that's
wait,
what I
hold on,
want to
hold on,
do.
hold on. Tell me a little bit about it. So you mentioned your best-selling book at that point. So whilst you were doing the podcast, what was the whole idea behind the book?
So it was all three of us together, and it was just basically our experiences surrounding different topics. So, like sex, career, race, love. Me, I spoke on motherhood, and it was kind of like an insight. An even deeper
Mm,
insight that we had already let people in within the podcast into this book. And I really like wrote my heart out. I really did. And I remember there's so many times where I was just typing away on my laptop and I would have tears streaming down my face, just talking about like my mum's experience as a Colombian woman here and just as a woman in general, and talking about my career and me being a mum now and the things that I'm instilling into my child. And then, yeah, it went, yeah, best selling 2 weeks running. And I was just like, what? We're doing a book tour? There's people queuing up so I can sign their book. And it's so funny because I remember I signed 200 copies when I was at the head office of the publishers, and I was signing. But at the same time, I was on a call with my daughter's teacher because I was doing parents' evening. And I was like, look
uh,
at this. So beautiful. Two worlds just colliding.
yes, we
And I
can.
was
Women can
so
do that.
right. And I was just so proud of myself that I was able to just get back up, do what I was doing, took a different route because I honestly thought it was going to be music por siempre. But
Mm.
it just went to show that, listen, you can have this plan in your mind, but what God has aligned for you, uno nunca sabe.
Uno nunca sabe. Y el poder de la mujer, like you cannot be
Amen.
underestimated. Cannot be underestimated. I love that. I feel like you're very like you've you've been able to overcome some stuff. And like I always say that some of the key qualities I always find in mujeres latinas is like fucking resilience, man. Resilience is something that no matter what Latina you put in front of me, sea mi mamá, mi abuela, mis primos, mis amigas, personas de la comunidad, whatever, it's fucking resilience. And I
I
see
just
that in
feel like
you,
we haven't had the choice not to be. You know,
100%.
when I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about like my mom y mi tía que vinieron at such a tender age, no conocieron a nadie, no tenían amigos ni familia acá, no podían hablar inglés. And I'm just like, how?
Mm,
How? Like, I don't even like going to places on my own sometimes porque me da miedo, let alone packing up and going to a different country.
migrating.
Like, my mum came here when she was 9 months pregnant with me, actually. And
Mm.
I just thank her so much because she had a vision in her mind. She knew she didn't want to have me in Colombia. She wanted me to have better opportunities than she did. And I'll always be so grateful to her for that because it's such an amazing thing that she done that I don't think that I would be able to do. I wouldn't be able to migrate to another country pregnant, heavily pregnant, and not knowing where my life was going. It's scary.
And at that time, it's wild because there was like no access, like little to no access to like the internet. Right now, we've got information at our fingertips. Back then,
Mm,
our parents they didn't have any of that. They didn't have like the ability to go, oh, I don't understand the language. Let me put on Google Translate. Like, era
no.
un mundo totalmente diferente. You know what I mean? Like, and why did your mom choose England?
So basically, my auntie came here first. So, la hermana de ella. And I actually done a little interview with my auntie because sometimes I feel like we forget that our elders are still people and they've still got
Mm,
their own stories and they still went through things that we will never understand. So I thought, you know what? I've grown up with you my whole life, but do I know you like now como una mujer, like an adult? Have we actually had a conversation about it? So I spoke to her and she said to me that she had a group of friends and her friends they split up into two groups. One group were going to America and the other group was going to England. So she said to her mom, Ma, me quiero ir de acá. I want to create a better life. And her mom said, okay. She asked her friends how they were getting to America. And her friends said that they were going to basically go at the back of a van. And the way that they were just doing it wasn't a way that my auntie really wanted to do it.
mm.
So what she did was she spoke to her friends that were coming to England and she was like, you know what? I'm going to get this money. However, I'm going to get this money and I'm going to buy a plane ticket with you guys. And I would rather go that route than do it like that because it was dangerous. And she actually said to me, a couple of her friends, a couple of the people that she knew going that route to America passed away during
Damn.
that time. And I was like, just could you imagine being a teenager and having to figure out where am I going to go, and now losing friends because all of you just want a better life? And then even though you chose to get all of this money, you worked your ass off to get this money to come to England, you had nowhere to stay. She had nowhere to stay. She had to find a job in a hotel, and she begged the man, her boss basically, to live in the hotel. So she said, don't pay me no money, pay me con un cuarto and I will work for you.
Wow.
And that's how she
How
started
old was
here.
she at that time?
I'm not too
Roughly?
sure. I don't think I asked that.
Yeah. But would you say like
She
20s?
was young. She was, yeah, early 20s for sure, because she didn't have her
What?
son at that point.
Imagine you and me, 20s, like traveling cross country doing that stuff. Like it's just wild.
Girl, in my 20s, I was crying because I didn't know what shoes to put on to go out with my friends. Like, I don't have a shoe for this outfit. What the fuck? I am not making big decisions like that.
No way. It's a whole different era. It's a whole different era. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I love that you interviewed your auntie, your tia. That would have been
Because
such a
I actually
beautiful
wrote
feeling.
about her in my book. I wrote,
Ah.
she's my woman of inspiration. She inspires me so much, her and my mom. Like, they are amazing women. And I sit back and I look at their lives and I'm just like, what the hell? My mum, she was adopted. I'm her first blood relative. She was left in a basket outside of a church, premature.
Oof.
She's never met her parents. So, just something as traumatic as that and being able to
Hmm.
create a life here. Wow.
I
Wow.
get what you mean by resilience now. I get what
Yeah.
you mean. Like for your mom to have that story and then persevere and be resilient, like and pass that all on to you, it kind of shows why, like going back to your bio, like being able to move past all these different phases in your life. And I
Yeah.
love when you told the story because I know there's a lot of people in La Comunidad Latina aquí in Australia and the UK and todo el mundo where as a mujer you're like, oh, I either want to have a child or I have a child and that's going to change my circumstances. We have to change that mindset. No, it doesn't change it. I mean, it changes your circumstances, but it doesn't have to change your goals.
No.
And you're a living proof of that.
Oh, thank
Nice.
you. I'm
That's
trying.
beautiful.
Trying to instill these things into my daughter. Se puede. Put your mind to it. Tiene que trabajar
Mm,
duro. Nothing is easy, pero tenga fe en Dios and stick to what it is that you're doing and what you love doing. Like, have your passion pay you. And I say this to everyone, right? Because there are a lot of people that say to me, okay, well, you're in a place of privilege where you can say, oh, follow your passion and all of
mm,
this. And I'm like, no, we all have choices in this life. We all have a choice in this life. You have to believe in yourself. Leave that job, leave that relationship, leave that friendship, because you
mm,
can. You can absolutely make the choice to do that. And guess what? Let's not do all of this forth thinking where we end up overwhelmed with all of like the different scenarios and everything that could go wrong. Because right now, let's take it step by step
mm,
and get up and leave. And that's exactly what I done with my last podcast that I was on. I didn't want to be there anymore. And I
mm.
was scared. I was scared of leaving because it was all that I knew for 7 years and it completely changed my life. But I just knew que ya no estaba en mi corazón para hacerlo.
Mm. Yeah,
And I
that's
left and
it.
I've created something so amazing since, I've really been able to
Mm,
focus on my music. I feel like my music, like the way that it's going, I'm really, really happy with it. I've definitely found my lane of being that British Latina that creates reggaeton fused with R&B. And I am just focusing on finding that audience and the core supporters, because those are the people that are going to take you to the next level. And those are the people that you have to really you know, really
mm.
care about and show love to.
So talking about your music, so you said it's like a fusion between like reggaeton, Latino, and R&B. How did those two worlds come together? Is it because you grew up in with those two genres and now you write and produce that
Yeah,
music?
yeah, exactly. So for the longest time, I was like, yeah, I'm making R&B. I released a couple of songs fully in English because I was like, there's not even enough Latinos here for me to even create the music that I really want to do, because
Mm,
it's
that's a
just
good point.
not going to get the support.
Mm,
So when I started doing R&B, I loved it and I love R&B, and there are so many amazing R&B artists that I admire, but it kind of felt like that there was something missing that was a huge part of me that I couldn't deny, and that's me being a Latina woman. And I am Latina to the core. Even though
Oof,
I've only been to
oof.
Colombia dos veces, I could have been to Colombia never. And guess what? La sangre en mis venas,
Facts.
Latina to the fucking core.
I love that. Can we just pause for a second? Because in every fucking podcast, I ask the same question because this is the number one question that people ask me to ask people in the podcast, right? How do you culturally identify? So to give you an example, I call myself like una chilena australiana, australiana chilena, right? I use those interchangeably. How do you culturally identify?
As a UK Latina, as a British Latina, because
British Latina.
I can't deny my nationality. I can't deny that I was brought up in England. You know, it's not the English blood isn't running through my veins. It's Colombian. And like I said, I was brought up in a very Colombian household, regardless of the fact that I've only been to Colombia twice. I was going to say twice. Oh my God. Look at the
I
Latina
heard that
coming
come
out of me
out. I was like, that was
twice.
un poquito de sazón con ese twice.
Even though I've been to Colombia twice,
Twice.
I am a very, very, very Colombiana. So I'm okay with identifying myself as a British Latina. Now, when people say, okay, that's your ethnicity, but what is your race? Which
Yeah, that's the
is
whole.
like a different conversation. Like when I explain to people who aren't Latin what race means to us as Latinos, they don't
Mm,
understand why it's not as simple as just saying black or white or
mm, mm.
brown. Guess what? Welcome to being Latino. It's not. We are mixed with
It's a
everything. Some
melting pot.
people, yeah, some people a little bit more, and other people not. And you know what? It's a conversation to been had, because let me tell you something. It's not as black and white as that. So
No
as
way. It's
my
mixed.
race, I always say mixed
I
heritage.
love that. I love that. And wait, tell me when you went back to Colombia for the first time, what was that feeling like? Like, and even before we even started speaking, even on your Instagram, because we only have a message and stuff, when I saw you, I could tell like tus raíces, they were shining through like fucking powerful. And I think that's why I personally gravitated to you because as amiga mia, it's all about representing the Latin community in Australia. And when I saw you, I was like, fuck yeah, like she's doing something very powerful in like your region, and
Yeah.
that's why I started following you. So like, what was it like
Aww.
going back to Colombia for the first time?
So the first time I went back to Colombia, well, the first time I ever went was when I was 15. And actually, at that point, I never realized that I didn't have, well, my family didn't have, well, my mum didn't have her British passport. So I had never left the country. So anytime I would ask my mum, like, let's go on holiday, like, she would always come up with an excuse, not
Mm.
knowing that we actually wasn't legally able to leave the country. So when I was 14, and le dieron los papeles a mi mamá, she was like, right, nos vamos para Colombia. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know we was illegal in this country. And now we're flying 15 hours across the world to go back home. What the hell? Like, Yolanda, we need to talk, hun. We need to have a conversation about this. Ended up going to Colombia. And honestly, I felt like that was always my home. I
Mm.
loved it so much. La cultura, la gente, la comida, la música. Ese como, us Latinos, we have this kind of vibe about us that is just
Mm.
so, it draws people in. It draws people in. That's why there are so many people who aren't Latin that love going to salsa clubs. They love listening to reggaeton. They love eating our food because they can just feel our energy. Like
Mm.
we're fucking bad, man. We good.
Hundred
Um,
percent.
so I fucking loved it. I fell in love with it. And then we came back, and the next time after that I went back was when I was actually 23, and I had my daughter, Catalea, and she was about 5 months old at that point. And I didn't go back in the time between that because of money. It was
Mm.
expensive to go there. And even though I had places to stay and I had my family there, to get a ticket from London to Colombia, no es
That would be
fácil.
expensive. That sounds
Very
like that is
expensive.
expensive. Like it would be
Mm-hmm.
like longer than Australia, right? Because for us, it's 14 hours. So I would imagine from you, it's like fucking a day
No,
to
it's the
get.
same thing actually.
Is it?
There's no
Oh, shit.
direct, yeah, there's no direct flights to Colombia from London. So we have to fly either to America or to Spain. So this time that I'm going in December, I can't wait because I've not been back for 8 years. I am flying to Bogota and then Bogota
Mm.
to, oh my God, no, what am I talking about? There is flights direct to Colombia. There's no flights direct to Medellin. Sorry,
Ah,
let me
okay. Yeah,
correct it.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'm going from here to Bogota, and then Bogota I have to get another plane to Medellin, which is another hour. And the flight from here to Bogota is about 11, 12 hours.
Ah, so it's the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's about the
long.
same. Yeah, I know
It's
what you mean.
long.
It's yeah, it is. And like I know what you
And
mean about the vibrancy though, like that when you get there in December as well, it's gonna are you gonna go like before Christmas or after Christmas?
I'm going for Christmas. I'm taking my girlfriend. It's going to be her first time in Colombia.
Plus Christmas time. That is gonna be epic. She's gonna
And
have
it's
the
going to
like
be, honestly, I'm so excited. And it's the first time that I'm going to be able to be around all of my family in Colombia with being my true authentic self and being with my girlfriend and not worrying about what it is that they've been taught their whole life and what it is that they've believed in because it's my life.
that's beautiful. And is your if you don't mind me asking, your girlfriend, is she Latin background, non-Latin
No,
background? So
no,
this is
she's
like
from
a whole
Jamaica and
experience.
England.
Oh, this is gonna be
Yeah. Like
amazing.
she is learning español, le encanta la comida latina, colombiana. She is a little Colombian babe deep down.
Yes.
So she's super, super, super excited, and we honestly can't wait. And I've told her, if you want to go to Colombia para relajarse during December, it's not going to exist, babe, porque los latinos, especialmente cuando es Navidad, es de rumba, rumba, rumba.
And Colombia is known for like
Yeah.
Christmas time. Like, oh, the amount of social media I consume about Colombia, Bogota, Feliz Navidad, like that content is insane.
We don't
And I
sleep.
no, I feel like it's beautiful. And also because now in Australia, actually, back in the day, it used to be Chileans, Argentinians, Peruvians, people from El Salvador who were the greater percentage of Latinos. Now it's Colombians and Brazilians.
Mm.
There's a huge Colombian community here and presence, and they're
Oh,
influencing
wow.
the Latin culture so much, which is beautiful because they have so much to bring. I have so many good friends who I love going to their parties because Colombians party on another level.
Is there
Um,
Colombian clubs or Latin clubs?
yeah, man.
Really?
Yeah, when you come,
Oh my.
when you visit us and perform, we will show
Amen,
you
amen,
around.
amen. Guys, the Australians, please get me over. Let me know you want me and I will come.
100%. We've got like a lot of nightclubs that are popular. I mean, back in the day when I was like, wow, back in the day, like I'm 50, when I used to party, it used to be a lot of the same clubs. Like you would always go out and it'd be the same. There would be ones called like Candy and La Cita, and they were all this like the same. And I loved it anyway, but then you get over it. Whereas now I feel like there's a lot more variation because our community's grown so much. And because there's a huge Colombian presence, Colombians now started setting up a lot of the clubs and also bringing in a lot of the music artists.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
So,
love that. There are many, well, a few, I would say, Colombian clubs here in London. I don't know outside of London though. Apparently there's like a little community of Latinos in Manchester, which is up north, like a few hours away. But anywhere else outside of London, I'm not too sure that Latinos or Colombians exist like that. But I remember being younger, going
mm.
to Latino clubs, like under 18 clubs. There was one called Baby Chaney, and we used to get drunk on like Coke, like Coca Cola, and we would come out at like 7 o'clock at night, like, "Oy, que fiesta tan chimba! Oh my god, estoy borracha."
I love that. Oh, wait, tell me. So, with the nightclub scene in London, like the Latin nightclub scene, what's the vibe like? Like, what does a night out like Latin dancing look like in London?
Okay, so there are a few clubs. I would say the most kind of commercial club that everybody really goes to is Bar Salsa.
Mm,
And that's where you have a salsa class, and then at 9 o'clock, it turns into una discoteca. And they have different nights. So they'll have salsa night, or they'll have like um a variation of music, or they'll have vallenatos or just something. And then you have another one called Bola Ocho, and that is like the underground Latin
mm,
hueco. Like it is crazy in there. Uno está sudando. La fiesta no empieza hasta las 3 de la mañana. Like you've got to sleep before you go out because that one, esa discoteca is open until las 8 de la mañana. Like you are not getting home until about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, which is insane. So I don't really go there. I've only been there a couple of times. Porque yo no puedo. Yo no puedo. I can't dance like that all night. There are other clubs and stuff, but I would say there are more Latino nights in different venues rather than
mm.
just specific clubs.
That makes sense.
Have you
Yeah.
heard of Sorry Puppy?
No, but sorry, puppy.
It's an all women's Latin party, but
I
it's in the
saw something
US.
on your bio. Are you doing
Yeah,
something like that?
so no, but so basically, I do an all women's event, but it's not just for Latin women; it's for
Ah,
for all women. I've created a space for women to just party without men because unfortunately,
it's
some men
needed.
don't know how to behave, and we just
No.
want to party with nobody harassing us.
Mm,
But yeah, no, Sorry Papi is actually a party from the States only for women. It's a Latino party, but they're actually going on tour and they're coming to London and they'll be here on the 18th of October. So I'm so excited. I'm going to finally be able to go to a Latin all women's party. I'm so
I
fucking excited.
I think I saw them on social media. I think I might have reposted one of their clips. I didn't realize it was called Sorry Puppy, and I love that name, Sorry Puppy.
Like, I'm sorry, papi, pero las mamacitas tenemos que
I'm
rumbear
sorry, Puppy.
solitas.
That's it.
I feel like as Latinas, like we have been over sexualized so much. And I feel
Mm,
like everybody thinks that we always have to be like that Latina trope, that kind of spicy, over sexual, just like always wearing a lace bra and off the shoulder. And it's okay. Yeah, we do ooze that sex appeal naturally, but that isn't the
mm,
only thing that's us kind of thing.
mm,
And I feel like a lot of porn has glorified that as well. So like when men, and it gives me a huge ick, I'm a bisexual woman, and the moment I speak to a man and they're like, oh my god, you're Latina, so what, can you call me papi, can you, no, no, because you, first of all, if you was interested in our culture, if you was
yeah.
interested in our language, if you're like, oh my god, do you know where I can learn Spanish? First of all, I'm not Rosetta Stone, so don't come tell me
Mm,
to teach you Spanish because I'm not going to be able to do that for you, babes. I
mm,
can I can show you where you can learn Spanish, but it's not going to be me. The moment a man does that, I'm like, you're fetishizing us, and I don't like that, and I'm not here for it, and I'm not going to perpetuate any sort of like Latina that does do that. And I will put my hands up. I will be the first one to admit that when I was younger and before I got to the space that I'm in now, absolutely, I would use that to my advantage. What?
mm.
He likes me because I'm Latina. But that was because of my own self esteem issues. That if I felt like you could love me because I am Latina, fine. Okay, cool. That's all I can get from you right now. I'm going to go for it. But that was a lot of things that I had to personally work through and unpack in therapy. And it had to do a lot with my self esteem and not feeling confident or loving myself enough to just show up as myself and feeling like, you know what, I am worthy regardless of if I'm Latina or not. So I
Mm.
can definitely say that I was, yeah, one of them girls where I would play
I
into
feel like, but
that.
I thank you for being so honest about that because I feel like like, first of all, me, like I live on social media, right? It's what I do. It's like I constantly find content, repost it, reshare it, create it, what have you. Like, and back in the day, I used to post a lot of content about Latinas somos celosas, somos spicy, somos
Mm,
siempre como, no sé, envidiosa. Because that's my lived experience. That's what I know. That's what my
yeah.
primas, that's what my girlfriends, we talk about it. We are a little bit like that, whatever. But then later on, I used to get a lot of people, especially mujeres en la comunidad, who were like, "Amiga, why are you sharing this? Like you're
Yeah.
perpetuating a stereotype." And they had a good point because they were like, "I think we can share it amongst ourselves because it's something that we
Mm-hmm.
understand, but when it's actually then projected out to the world, it's like, why are you perpetuating it?" And so even for me, it was a learning. Right back in the day, I used to
Yeah.
post all this shit about being celosa and somos spicy and the way we flex being Latina, like all that sort of stuff. But then as we grow and we learn, then I was like, shit, man, like she's
Yeah.
right. So now I
Yeah.
do it,
100%.
but I don't do it to the extent of what I do before. And if I do it,
Yeah.
I do it in an environment where it's probably a little bit more. Yeah, somos todas
Contained.
Latinas. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I think, do you know what? It's not a bad thing, like I said, being sexual and having this sex appeal. Like I said, is naturally just us. But I think just knowing your intentions and being mindful and being very, very aware of things. I feel like this generation of Latinas, we are doing so much unlearning of the toxicities that was just passed down generations that we grew up thinking was okay to now being like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't okay. Like, my mom will call you how it is. Si usted es gorda, ella le dice gorda. Si usted es flaca, ella le dice flaca. And I'm just like, Mom, you can't be giving people complexes like that. You can't just walk around calling them gorda. Like, what the hell? And for her,
That's
she's like,
true.
no, pero Milena, eso es como an endearing term. And I'm like, endearing or not, like outside of the community, like let's really deep it here. What are you actually saying? Because it could give somebody, such a major complex to the point where just they have issues with their weight, and their self-esteem and how they see themselves and how they show up. So, and even down to like family members, you go into una fiesta and in front of everyone they'll be like, ¿y su esposo qué? ¿Y cuándo se va a casar? ¿Y cuándo? Excuse me, your husband is cheating on you. Shut the fuck up. Don't ask me about my life, please. Don't ask me about my
That's a
life.
whole nother topic, amiga, is el machismo en la comunidad latina, la cultura. El machismo is wild, like, and as women, we just have to deal with it. Like, ¿y tu marido qué? ¿Y tu esposo qué? ¿Y tu novio
It's
qué? Like,
it's
why
so
don't
funny
you?
because my mum, sorry to cut you, my mum had una fiesta a couple of weeks ago and she had like her partner's friends there and they were all older Latin men. Anyways, estábamos hablando and he was like, yeah, I went out to una discoteca y yo estaba con mi novia y mi novia estaba con sus amigas. And then there was a man that came over and asked for one of her friends to dance with him. And I got so mad because how dare he? He needs to ask me if it's okay to ask her if she wants to dance. And I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. She is a woman who can choose whether she wants to dance with a person or not. Ay, pero es que yo era el hombre de la mesa. No, 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 babe. That's your ego. That's your pride. That's what, Latino men are taught and told that it's accepted, but it's not. Guess what? That woman has a choice. And if she wanted to dance con 20 hombres a la misma vez, it's her prerogative. And it just gets me so angry. That's a different episode por otro día.
It is a different episode, and I think it's so important that we also talk about that more, like as a community in general, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of taboos topics. Uno de esos topics is machismo, right? I feel like now, I don't know, with Latinas I've spoken to, we're getting more comfortable talking about the hypersexualization of Latinas, and I think that's good, pushing that like out and teasing it out. But el machismo is kind of like, oh, cuidado,
Yeah.
porque si el hombre escucha, cuidado, and I'm like, nah, we got to
Yeah.
change that.
I know, but
You
it's
know,
because there's so many women that live with these men that
that's
will
true.
not change. And we don't know what their situations are, and
That's
I think
true.
maybe it comes from a space of fear and safety as well, because let's not even go into the men hitting our Latina woman because it's just accepted.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the older men dating younger. I had a boyfriend that was like 6, 7 years older than me when I was a teenager, and I had no business being with him. But, nuestra cultura was just so accepting of it because era normal. And it's not okay. Older men should not be dating younger girls. It's not okay.
That's definitely that's important as well. I remember when I think I was 17 or 16. I was dating a 25-year-old, And I didn't like, I was with him for like a serious amount of time at that point, which is like 5 months. You know, back then in 5 months is like a full relationship,
Yeah.
no? And looking back now, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? You
And
know?
you at 17, you're like, pero yo soy madura, yo soy una mujer. Like, how amazing que un hombre de 25 años me está mirando, que estoy con él. Like, you feel better within yourself, not actually realizing that men groom young women on a daily. Yeah. Crazy shit, man.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
You actually got me thinking now. There needs to be space created to talk about it. It's something that has impacted my life personally,
Same.
and I know that, and that's the thing, right? It's probably so common, which is the sad part, which is why we need to talk about it. But
Exactly.
and then going back to your music, you've created yourself, established yourself like a Latina R&B artist, reggaeton, un poquito de música latina. You've since left the podcast. Now,
Yeah.
where are you at? What's happening?
So I released an EP a couple of months ago called Una Latina en Londres, and
I
it's a
like it.
5-track EP, and it's very, very true to who I am. You know, I'm very authentic when it comes to my music and when it comes to writing and really talking about the experiences that I have lived by. And there are a couple of songs there where I am singing about my love for women because I absolutely adore women and I have an amazing partner. And I kind of felt like there wasn't a lot of Latin queer love songs. There is a lot of like maybe queer perreo songs that are just like, oh, let me just dabble with women because that's what guys like. Y yo me quiero besar con mi amiga, que no sé qué. But there's more to it than just that. There are many, many queer Latin people that are in a relationship with the same sex, you know? And I really, really wanted to represent that. Like, I'm not only waving the flag of being a British Latina, I'm waving the flag for being una colombiana and a queer woman and a mother. There's so many communities that I'm representing that there was no way that I couldn't include that within my music. So obviously doing reggaeton infused with R&B, and I done that project and it was amazing. Got a great response. Everybody has been loving it so far and doing some great TikToks. And I've just been so happy watching people enjoy my music. And now I'm about to release another song called End of Time in October the 10th, mi cumpleaños. And that song is about me just being head over heels over this woman and, you know, being in a safe, beautiful relationship. And then the rest of my music, I'm just going to be releasing singles. But yeah, same vibe, same premise. You know, I love music. It's been my whole life. And just like I said in the beginning of the podcast, creating this hub of people that truly support me for the right reasons and me being my complete self. Even if people don't agree with that, it's my life. And what other people think about me is not my business. And I say this very often. Si ustedes quieren hablar por allá, que hablen, whatever. I know me. I know what it is that I'm creating. I know what kind of life I want to live. And I know what mother I am. And I know what kind of woman I am. And I think that is something that I want to always, that's just the forefront of me, always.
So beautifully said. So beautifully said. And I feel like you will represent beautifully for the different
Oh, thank
communities.
you.
And I know definitely your heritage is Colombian. And, you know, but even me as a Chilean Australiana, I love your music. And I think that not just your music, but I feel like how you show up, and I said this kind of towards the beginning, but the way you show up, I feel like you have like this, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to do me authentically, but you still do it with so much composure is not the right word. It's like composed, authentic, passionate, I don't give a fuckness. With ese orgullo de ser Latina también en Londres. And you are a whole anomaly in that case as well, because I don't see many people on that side of the world representing like you do. And also to be part of that community, the queer community. I'm definitely a strong ally for the queer community. I know here that hopefully when this episode comes out in Australia, that they have someone to resonate with and look up to. And I think even for me, I'd love to listen to that music because we need to hear it more. You know, more.
Yeah.
I know exactly when you said about the una mujer besando una mujer. Like it's almost like a fetish. And I
Yeah.
have enough friends now to know, like, no, I know a lot of my close friends have like real ass relationships with kids, man. Like it ain't no fetish.
Yeah, 100. And even when I think about like coming out to my family, I feel like when you come out to to people that are so close-minded and so homophobic, and they have a lot of internalized homophobia as well, the first thing that their minds go to is sex, like imagining that person having sex with the same sex. And it's just like, how about let's not sexualize it? Let's move past that and see the beautiful love, the union, and somebody being so brave to actually come out and be their true self. Because how many people do we know? How many adults, probably tios, tias, abuelas, abuelos, lo que sea, around us that probably would love to be with the same sex or explore, but they can't. They haven't been able to. And I find that so heartbreaking that you have to live a lie porque la otra gente have this kind of like life made for you. I just don't believe anybody should be living like that. And trust me, conversations are hard, conversations are awkward. Every time que yo estoy en una fiesta con mi novia y viene una tía que no he visto por 3 años and I have to introduce my girlfriend, it's coming out every single time. And I feel uncomfortable because everyone around me is looking at me. Pero I made a vow to myself, because at the beginning I would say, mi amiga. No, ella no es mi amiga, ella es mi novia. And when
Yes.
I start being prideful of that, everybody around me is going to have no choice but to fucking accept me. And if you don't, that's your problem. And you make the choice whether you want to be around me or not. Es simple.
And that's exactly what I meant by like this passionate composure, because you're able to articulate yourself as well so eloquently when you say that. And that's a good quality of a leader, a community leader, which I would position you as 100%. And Amiga, give us. So I was saying before we jumped onto this, like majority of Amiga Mia is Australian, New Zealand, and also different parts of the world. Actually, weirdly got a lot of people from like El Paso in the US. It's just a concentrated group of people who follow me there. I don't know if you're listening what I offer you, but if I offer you something, hola, and I appreciate you following. What message do you have for them?
The message that I have for everyone is to live your life for you. Always be yourself. And like I've said, I know that it can be difficult in a world where we're being told how to live, and society's pressures and family pressures and just everything. And I hear you, but when everything is said and done, are you going to be happy with the life that you have lived, with the life that you have chosen? And remember, you always have a choice. Like I said, you can leave, you can go, you can start the business, you can start this, you can just rebrand, you can do you. Always be yourself. Nobody can be you better than you. And that is the beauty of being us. Okay. Please, if anybody takes away anything from this episode, is I hope I've inspired you, motivated you to live as your true self. And that's it.
I love that. And I think that that's something that even when you were speaking to Senate, it motivates me to like, be able to continue, because I'm going on a journey now of like, I resigned my corporate job and I'm pursuing Amiga Mia full time. And what that looks like is just
Woo!
completely unknown. Yeah, I know. It's been a hot, wild
Well
ride.
done. Well done. You should be so proud of yourself. There are not
Thank
many
you.
people and not many women that can get up and just do that. So
Nah,
well
man.
fucking done. You should be very,
Gracias.
very proud.
Gracias. It's a hustle for real. Every day looks different. Some are really bad. Not going to lie, pero,
It's the reality of it.
it's the reality, and it's my choice. You know how you said you have choices? One day I made a fucking choice and I said, no lo voy a hacer porque, like I was telling someone the other day, like, when you have a calling and I couldn't ignore the calling anymore. I reached the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. What also I resonated with you should be a motivational speaker, and no wonder that you do live panels, because I understand now. When you're saying to be authentically yourself, and what's that word? Like, not assume into it, surrender to it, right?
Yeah.
I felt like with Amiga Mia for the longest time, like I was finding a lot of content that I found funny and then reposted it. And for once I was like, wait, hold on. there's a person behind this, and I'm going to show
Yeah.
myself. And for ages, I used to just label myself an introvert. And then now I ripped off the band aid, and now like I resonate with your words because I'm going through that process. It looks a little bit different for me, but I think like everyone's journey is unique, and I can't agree with you more.
That's the
And
beauty of it. Think about how
yeah,
much you're going to learn during this time. All of the days where you're just like, oh shit, did I make the right choice? Yes, yes, you did make the right choice. And guess what? Nothing is linear and it will
mm,
be okay. You just have to trust and believe in yourself, in the universe, in God, whatever higher power it is that you believe in. If you have this thing in you, like you said, that calling, that purpose, que usted sabe that you're meant for more, hazlo, do it, hágalo.
and Amiga, before we wrap up, where can people find you? What's the
So
best place to contact you or follow you?
I read all of my DMs, every single DM, every request. I read it, by the way, guys. So Instagram and TikTok, Milena Sanchez X. And on Spotify, Milena Sanchez. You can stream my music. And yeah, TikTok and Instagram are the platforms I'm always active on. So yeah, definitely find me on there. Drop me a message. Would love to hear from all of you lot. And I would definitely love to get my British Latina ass over to Australia.
Yeah, man. And for those listening, I'm going to have Milena's Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok on the show notes so you can check it out later. And also have a fun little social media clip as well. So, Milena, thank you so much, amiga. I really appreciate your time. And I know that you have a lot of things going on. So this hour means more than you know. And I'm honestly excited to continue to follow your journey.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's been amazing having a chat with you and opening my eyes to certain things and answering the questions that I had as well. So carry on doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing thing para la comunidad ya in Australia and for everyone worldwide, really, and just giving us a glimpse of what it's like being a Latina woman. So yeah, thank you to you as well.